Joining us now, Congressman Mike Johnson from House Judiciary, along with Stifel Chief Economist Lindsey Piezga. It's great to have you both on the show. Thanks for spending time with us. First to you, Congressman, it's the soccer moms who could decide the midterms. Democrats have been fighting to move the news cycle away from inflation because they can't campaign on a weak economy. They've got to convince, now, Democrats, is this going to work? They've got to convince voters that inflation, possible recession, crime, open borders is less important than the Supreme Court fight over abortion. What do you think?
I think they're going to fail miserably. I'm in the district in Louisiana. All the members of the House are home this week, and I've been out and about with all the soccer moms in Louisiana. I can tell you what they are concerned about. I narrow it down to the three I's. I say it's inflation, immigration, and incompetence on all the issues you listed, from foreign policy to energy policy to crime, all of it. Everything the Biden administration has touched has become a crisis or a catastrophe, and everybody can see that with their own eyes. So the cultural issues are important to people here as well. But the number one thing that's going to drive them and get them to those polls is all these other issues, the kitchen table issues. But we're right on all of it, and we look forward to that contest.
Okay, there's that. Lindsey, you know, Americans want prosperity. They want a better future. Even Democrats like Nancy Pelosi said, yes, it's the economy, the economy, economy. And Lindsey, we've seen polls from Quinnipiac, Monmouth, Gallup, that it is the economy. How do you see this? Where are we at right now in the economy? What does it feel like to you, 2006, 2007, what?
Well, I think when we look at the latest GDP report, that sums it up. We've already seen the first negative print of this cycle. Now, yes, much of that was due to trade and the inventory cycle. But when we look at the latest data from the consumer, we're already losing momentum as wage growth has been robust on a nominal basis. But when we adjust for inflation, real income is down double digits. So if the consumer continues to pull back going forward, that's going to leave the economy in dire straits. You layer on a more aggressive Fed, and that translates into even weaker growth and possibly recessionary conditions.
Yes, what Lindsey's talking about is Congressman, is that the Democrats and the Republicans signed off on it too. Wartime spending for a pandemic after shutdowns. I mean, the massive amount of N1 money supply pouring in. But we have top Democrat Sean Maloney. He's the head of the House Democrat Campaign Committee. He's still saying that the midterms are going to be about abortion. Let's watch what's going on. Watch this.
The idea that we're going to make a judgment that is going to say that no one can make the judgment to choose to abort a child based on a decision by the Supreme Court, I think goes way overboard.
This MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history, in recent American history. What happens if you have a state changes the law saying that children who are LGBTQ can't be in classrooms with other children?
Now, there have not been many senators from Delaware. It's a small state. As a matter of fact, there's never been one. So I want to take advantage of it.
Inflation is the number one driving factor, I believe, in my state. Right now, it's hurting everybody. Not just at the pump, but at the grocery store, at the drugstore, at the pharmaceutical, everything they do.
The election in this November is going to be a referendum on privacy and your rights to freedom as an American. They don't want to make that the case. They want it to be, oh, it's inflation. It's something at the border.
Okay, there's that, right? You heard all that. By the way, the president was a senator of Delaware. I don't know what he's talking about. So, Congressman, there's a Gallup poll last year. 58% oppose overturning Roe v. Wade. Cultural issues did turn out, like critical race theory, they did turn out voters in Virginia. But what base are Democrats going to energize to come out? Because studies show the vast majority already changed parties to align with the parties that align with their own views on things like abortion.
That's exactly right. And they're not telling the truth. Not only is it incoherent, as the president is apt to be, but they're simply not telling the American people the facts. I mean, anybody who reviews this draft opinion that Alito drafted will know this is strictly about returning the right to the people in the individual states, where it was before 1973 when unelected justices of the court ripped that freedom away from the people. We are returning the freedom to the people. That's what this opinion will be, and they'll be able to decide it in their own individual states where the decision always will.
Yeah. We've got talk of a Biden-Trump rematch, Lindsey. That's growing. By the way, let me back up. I know we're not going to talk with you about the Supreme Court decision. You're an economist. By the way, President Biden, as a senator, voted in the 80s to leave it up to state voters on abortion. That's what that leaked Supreme Court draft was about. Europe has the same standards of no, saying no after the first trimester. Let's get back to the economy. So the president is ramping up the rhetoric and he's ramping up the mistakes. Where do you see? Do you think we are really going into recession? What do you think?
Well, I think at this point, to your point, voters are focused on social issues. That's a key component. But the bigger issue is the pain that we're feeling as a result of inflation. And whether you're feeling the pinch at the grocery store, whether you're feeling it from higher gas prices. I mean, take the average American household with a 2-car family, 20-gallon tank, filling up 2 to 3 times a month. That translates into hundreds more a month just to fill up the family car. So again, when we look at the household balance sheet, 20% of that is going to energy costs, then an additional 10% going to food costs, higher food costs. That's going to leave very little discretionary income for average Americans to go out into the marketplace and spend on non-discretionary goods. And again, without that spending power, the economy is likely to sink, and we do forecast the first negative print in Q1 of 2023.
Do you feel like we are in a recession already?
I think we're headed towards recession, and the Fed is going to have to back off more quickly than expected in order to stave off that recessionary scenario.
Wow. Okay, well, we hear you loud and clear, Lindsey Piezga. And it's striking that, Democrats like Tim Ryan in Ohio, he's dodging whether he should have Biden help him campaign against J.D. Vance. That's really striking in that Senate race there. Congressman Mike Johnson and Lindsey Piezga, thanks for joining us. Come back soon.